Welcome to Business Talk, presented in collaboration with the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, from the heart of southeastern Ohio at the University of Rio Grande TV studio. Our goals are simple: promote the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, as well as advocate local small business and their support organizations. More importantly, promote southeastern Ohio as a wonderful place to live, explore, and learn. There are many different ways you can find us. The University of Rio Grande Cable Access Channel 17, live online at blogtalkradio.com, and on YouTube if you are unable to catch our show live. Introducing our co-hosts, Jason Winters, Mike Thompson, Patrick Dengel. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome back to our show. It's a pleasure today that we're presenting a really good featured speaker, as well as one of our guest hosts, or not so guest hosts. But anyway, we're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to almost all of us, and that has to do with pets. You know, pets are those kinds of animals, or those kinds of things that keep our hearts warm when everything else is going bad. And sometimes I wonder if our pets love us more than our spouses. And it was interesting, Mike was telling me that dogs love us better than our spouses. And I said, oh, get out of here, Mike. And Mike said, yeah, you put a dog and your spouse in the trunk, lock them up there for 2 hours, and when you open up the trunk, who's happy to see you? And I said, well, yeah, that makes sense. So, Mike, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't call my dogs or whatever my pets. They're my friends.
Your friends?
They're my friends.
Well, you know, we become so emotionally attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're going to be speaking with Jason Winters. Jason is the owner and operator of Higher Ground Pet Crematory, as well as a couple other things. Jason, welcome to our show.
Well, thanks, Pat. It is really good to be on your show today. When I was talking to Tracy, that's my wife, she made the comment that you're really getting hard up for a guest on your show today.
Well, not necessarily, because, you know, throughout the last number of shows, we've talked about camp bereavements. We've talked about how individuals love growing things and creating things, and things that really attach to our heart. And we now are going to be talking about something that's near and dear to all of us at one time. We've each, I think, have had pets, have we not?
Oh, absolutely.
And I know, Mike, you have a number of pets at home.
Yeah, I've always pretty much had dogs.
Dogs?
I like the big dogs.
And you also have some cats, do you not?
I have a cat, and I used to have a cat.
Yeah.
So I had one cat that I really liked, and we've had a couple that were cats.
Yeah.
They lived in the same house I did.
And Jason, you have many animals on your farm, including 100 kids.
I probably don't have 100 kids on the farm right now, but we have over the years, yes.
And it's not the children's home.
No.
It's the goats, isn't it? But you know, one of the areas, one of the I'm trying to say expertise, and I'm having trouble saying that. But one of the expertises that you have is taking a lifelong friend, a pet, and making memories, and helping individuals to remember the relationship that they have with the pet.
Or in my case, since I have big dogs, saving me a bunch of time, because if I buried my guys, 150 pounds or so, I'm digging a hole as big as a human. And my neighbors might wonder, but
Yeah.
Or the police.
Yeah.
We know, Pat, in business we have something called an elevator pitch. And
Yes.
I'm sure you've talked about that with some of the clients that you've helped. What would you say to someone going up an elevator between floors that would express what your business is all about? And I've always said that my elevator pitch is just really simple. I give loving pet owners the opportunity to keep their pets with them forever.
I think that's fantastic.
And that always sparks a conversation. How do you do that? Well, it's through something as simple as that. We provide a pet cremation service, and it does. It gives individuals the opportunity to keep their pet's ashes with them for the rest of their life.
You ever run across anyone that wants to have them stuffed?
Actually, yes. I had not been open very long at all. And stuffed, no, there's actually another term.
I know it's another term, but
well, no, I'm not. I'm not actually talking about taxidermy.
Oh,
there is
really?
actually a process of freeze drying. It's a freeze dehydrating.
Oh, that's strange. Okay.
Well, I did too, and I didn't know anything about it. But I had a.
Do they look strange afterwards, or do they look freeze dried?
They are flash frozen, dehydrated. I mean, they are just like they were.
Oh,
but they're
so I could
preserved.
do that to me, and I could sit around the house the rest of my life.
Yeah. Now this one lady in particular that told me that she had done this, I think
Yeah.
it was for her cat. She said it was so lifelike and so real that the other cats bothered it. So
Huh.
she actually had to get a glass enclosure to put over it to protect it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you had an individual ask you when you started the business?
Yeah. If I
Name
offered
Ro-
that service.
Was the name Roy Rogers?
No.
No.
No. Trigger was stuffed. That's a whole other process.
Yeah.
That's the
That's a taxidermy.
taxidermy.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you help to retain those memories through a cremation process. How did you start this?
Well, it goes back to, several years ago. By trade, I actually am a funeral director. I've been a licensed funeral director in Ohio now for 20 years.
20 years.
I had a funeral home in Wellston for 8 years, and while we had the funeral home in Wellston, my wife actually mentioned one day, I think it was her cousin or something had a pet cremated, and they were from the city. And that's, that was kind of commonplace
Yeah,
there.
they don't
It
have
wasn't around here.
backyards to bury their pets in.
Exactly right. And so she had made the comment, we ought to have something around here. And of course, that was back in the 90s and before the turn of the century.
Yes.
And we just honestly thought there was not a market for that. Then we moved. We'd closed the funeral home in Wellston, and I went to work for a multinational firm in Hamilton, Ohio. And it was in the city. And there was we got calls probably a couple every week about cremations for pets. And we had a local provider in the city there that did the cremation and provided the urns, and it was a big business. So we came back here, and the service wasn't available. And I began the MBA program here at the university, and I needed a project. And so Tracy said, we talked about doing a pet crematory. Why don't you use that for your project and see what happens? So we did. Long story short, we actually did the business planning, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to be here today, is to promote not only the university, but the importance of business planning.
Sure.
Because honestly, I didn't think that there was a market. And the first thing we did was conduct a survey in the area. So we conducted a couple different independent surveys. One was among our college population around here. There's a nice diversity of individuals here. You've got students as well as faculty and staff, all different ages, different education levels, different ideological thought processes. It turned out that it was pretty unanimous across the board. About 30% of pet owners said that they wanted the service if the price was right. And we'll talk about the price in a little bit. So we also conducted another survey, and we conducted a survey in the local high schools. We wanted a younger perspective. What does the next generation think about this service? Turned out it was about the same. About 30% wanted the service.
And that is becoming more popular with the human population as far as being cremated or buried.
At the time we'd done that survey, that was just about what the human cremations was running. The human cremation rate in Ohio, when we had done this has been about 7 years ago, was in that 36-37% range. Today, I believe that cremation rate has passed the 40% rate for Ohio, so it's growing. But we decided that we wanted an older perspective, so we actually did a survey of senior citizens. Same
Like Pat.
situation. Yeah, yeah, and it was the same results. We were talking about a 30% rate, so we had a demographic. You know, we could figure that 30% of pet owners would want our service.
If it's anything like our house, we've got 3 dogs and a cat, and
Well, if you actually go to the national statistics,
and I see that through our neighborhood. About every house has got 3 pets.
you can actually go and you can bring that down farther. The national average says that there is an average pet population of 1.3 animals per household in your county. So when you figure that, yes, you may have 3, but your neighbor has none,
Right.
it works out. So you can actually look at how many households are in your area and have a pretty accurate count of how many pets are in the area that you're going to serve. And then you figure that 30% of them want your service, and you can start doing some numbers from there.
So individuals that do cremate their pets, is it just an easy disposal, or are they looking to cherish the memories through the?
I guess you could answer that by your different services.
Yeah, I can, and I can also say that came about by some very good business planning as well. Part of the process was to actually ask some of these vets what their experiences were. I had one of my vets that I first went to was Bill Crank. He's in Henderson, West Virginia, and because I got some interesting results back on some of our surveys. One of our surveys, when I had created the list of questions, I asked how they disposed of their pets. I don't like the term dispose, but it was a questionnaire. You know, did you bury them? Did you cremate them? And I thought, I don't know of any other, but we need a choice. So I put other.
And there's some people that put them in the trash bags.
I was quite surprised at how many people in our surveys actually marked other. So I was really curious as to what this other category was.
And we had the trash service here, and she said that necessarily was not legal to put your pet in your disposable garbage that they pick up every day.
I've got conflicting results. You talk to the EPA, and it is. I mean, that's what the landfills are for. So they can. Most of your trash services don't want to do that.
Right.
So that was the answer there. But I went to the vet first, and I said, what do people do? I got some bury, some cremate, and then other. What is that? And he just looked at me and he said, quite honest, they leave them with me. And I said, they leave their pet with you? I said, yeah, some don't have a choice. Some are in an apartment and they have absolutely no place to bury them. So they leave it to me. And I said, well, what do you do with them? And of course, I got multiple questions depending on who I asked. One said, I've got them buried everywhere. He said, I'd be tickled to death if you'd have this service because I'm running out of places to bury animals. He said, my land is only so big. So we had that category that I had never given much thought about, and that's the vet service. So that's when I started reconsidering my business plan and looking at wholesaling and making affiliate relationships with veterinarians. And I've got a very good pool of veterinarians in the area that all sell my products and services right out of their office. Makes it a whole lot more convenient for the customer. They come in, they're emotionally upset anyway. They've either just lost a pet or they just made a decision to have their pet put to sleep. So they're already in the vet's office. The vet does all the paperwork, takes care of all the information there, and then they simply call me, and I pick the animal up. I take it back to the farm, do the cremation, customization of any urns that we would want, and then I return everything back to the vet for pickup. And I just want to take a minute because I've got some wonderful vets in the area, and I just like to kind of throw out some names. Here in Rio Grande, we have Angie Dawsey. She's right out the road.
Four Seasons Vet Clinic, super nice lady. And I say this about all my vets. We've got some wonderful vets in the area. Riverbend Animal Clinic is Brian and Sherry Hendrickson. They are right there on 160 in Beulaville Pike and Gallipolis. Super nice people. They just made an expansion to their business as well. Right across the river in Henderson, West Virginia is Bill Crank Animal Hospital. He also has another vet in there, Tommy. They do a fantastic job. Josh Irvin just opened a year and a half ago or 2 years ago in Pomeroy, right there along Route 7. And Josh actually just opened a new location in Wellston. So they are all my affiliates. They sell all my products and services, and to them I am a wholesaler.
But you provide a very needed service because, as you said, when individuals come in with their
Sure.
their pets and they either put them to sleep or they've
Right. And I would say, I probably do as much on the farm retail as any one of the locations do. I work full time. Pat, I'm here all the time.
Yes,
here
you
on
are.
campus and
Yep.
teach classes at night.
Yep.
So my schedule's kind of crazy. So to
Right.
hire someone to sit there really wasn't in our best interest. So through the daytime, anyone can go to my affiliates. But if it's after hours, and we don't control when our pets pass away, so after hours or on the weekends, they can always call me directly and meet me out the house.
very
So-
good, very good.
But I also have a couple other affiliates. I have a funeral home in Wellston, Jenkins Funeral Home in Wellston. They provide all my funeral services as well. And there is a kennel and groom shop, Paul's a While in Jackson, that is also an affiliate.
And so we're speaking about crematories, or are we speaking about laying bodies of?
No, we're talking about still doing cremations.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yeah. They,
All right.
Paul's a While in Jackson. She has a grooming shop and has a kennel.
Oh, okay.
It's out on 4 Mile Road.
4 Mile.
4 Mile. Diana, and Diana Yates, and she is another super lady. Just absolutely loves animals. She is an advocate for the pet Humane Society in
Yes.
Jackson County.
Mhm.
So she offers services out of her business. And then Sam Jenkins, I'm still affiliated with him on the funeral side for humans. So he offers the products and services there for people. But of course, now that Josh is there with the vet office, I would say he'll probably do the majority in Wellston. He's only been there now about a month, and he's already doing cremations for us in that area.
So when you were doing services for humans, as a funeral director, are you licensed or whatever to do a cremation yourself, or do you job that out to someone?
That is a whole different set of laws. When you're talking about a funeral director, most funeral directors, they are embalmers. They are funeral directors and embalmers, and they take care of the human side.
Right.
They don't get into the cremation side of the industry. That is also a separate set of laws, and there are crematories that are licensed. Some of the larger firms in the cities where there is more cremation, they do have their own crematories. So in some cases, yes, they are.
I wasn't sure about the licensure, if there was something you did with them that carried over to animals, or was there?
No, there's
Nothing like
not.
that.
It's separate. When I offered cremation services through the funeral home, when I had a funeral home, we used a local crematory that was not affiliated with us, but again, they were a wholesale provider of cremation services, and we resold it. So
Okay.
And I noticed that you brought with us several urns.
I did. I thought, Pat, we just needed a couple props. We don't usually do props on the show, and I thought, why not?
Oh, I think this is great.
So, because most people get confused, they think, well, cremation, they don't know what we're talking about. They see the ceramic pot that's traditionally on the shows, it gets knocked off and the ashes go everywhere. Well, yeah, there's still some of that in the human side, but for the most part on the pet cremation, we have some really unique urns. I kind of brought two of my popular. This is a traditional style urn, but if you'll notice, it's got paw prints that go all the way around it. So it's kind of unique, and if you're an animal lover, you will realize that you have paw prints all over your house.
Yeah.
I could have wrung my dog's neck the other day. I stopped to open my gate so I could drive out. Well, my dog wanted to go out. Now, we're talking about, this dog is Candy. She is my lab, and she weighs probably 120 pounds. So I stopped the gate, and I said, Candy, go back to the house. Well, she didn't want to have anything to do with that. So I tried to chase her back. She was chasing me around the truck. And now you
She's
remember,
playing with you.
I'm not moving very
Oh,
much.
right.
I'm
was
not
playing with
moving.
you.
So, yeah, she
You're
was
a good
playing with me
target.
around, and I left the door of my truck open.
Uh-oh.
She hopped in my truck.
Oh, yeah.
She has never, ever hopped in my truck, ever.
You don't take her for rides?
No, she's usually too big. No. We
Okay.
go for walks, but we usually
Okay.
don't take rides. She's a farm dog. So now I have paw prints on the seats of my car. I haven't had a chance to clean them. So pet owners love paw prints. They're used to them. This is a photo frame urn, probably one of my more popular ones. Any picture that you have now in the digital age, I can take a digital photo, crop it, enlarge it, and make it work. And so you have something that looks like a photo frame. Of course, it's the depth here. The ashes are actually behind the photo, and there's several others. If you want to see all the selection, we've got some that looks like dog houses.
You have a great website.
We have a website.
that
I wouldn't say it's
shows a number-
great.
It shows a lot of nice.
I put a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
There are other websites that look better, but
It's-
it serves a need. It's highergroundpetcrematory.com. That's HIGHER I'm sorry, that's the farm's website. Higher Ground Pet PT Crematory, CREMATORY.com. Or Google pet cremations in Gallipolis, and we pop right up.
Uh-huh.
So,
So let me ask you this. The ashes, and let's assume I know nothing about.
I don't have to
crematories.
assume that at all, Pat.
And that's why I'm asking the question. You had mentioned that one of your labs weighs 125 pounds. And what's the weight of the largest dog?
Oh, it's over about 250.
What was she? Oh, shoot. She was a Mastiff.
A Mastiff?
Yeah.
They're pretty thick.
I had a Mastiff just a couple weeks ago, and
She's
she
probably
weighed
around 200.
243.
Really? Wow. That's a big
243.
Mastiff.
And so
She was big.
transporting them, how large is your crematory? Can you fit a goat in there? And can you
I
fit-
actually have, yes, and that's about as large as I can accommodate. I've had calls for horses. My unit will not accommodate a horse.
Are there units out there that will accommodate large?
I'd actually looked into it. There is a unit that's large enough to do a horse. The problem with it is, it gets back to business, Pat. You got to have a market for it.
Yeah.
That'd be a large investment for
It's
the
a
return.
larger investment, and when I say price, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, roughly part of my survey work said that people for their pets was willing to spend anywhere from $100 to $300, for the
So that would
service.
be your service.
And that's what
cost.
I've tried to keep
Yeah,
all
okay.
of my cost at. So I price my urns with the cremation charge, and I stay right within that range. There's a couple of them that are on the upper end of that range
Sure.
now. Just over the last couple of years, inflation has hit. But when it comes to the reason the price fluctuates between 100 and 300 is the size of the animal. I mean, if you think about the larger animal, it's obviously going to take more gas. It's a gas-fired crematory, so it's going to take more fuel to actually complete the cremation charge. When you start thinking about a horse, it takes a lot of fuel to be able to reduce a horse to ashes.
And then plus the carrying charge.
You do. You've got to have equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have the time and the availability to go out and work with them. So it roughly right now it's about $1,400 to cremate a horse,
Wow.
and
Wow.
there's just not a big enough market here in our area.
So how do they dispose of animals that have died and that cannot be reprocessed for food or anything like
Well,
that?
when you're talking about horses in our area, you're talking about a lot of farmers, and a lot of farmers do have their equipment, so they actually bury them on their farm. I mean, that's kind of been the tradition in our area. There are a few that they consider them pets, and yes, there are some groups in Columbus specifically and outside of Columbus that they'll come down and pick their animal up. But it's going to cost about $1,400-$1,500 to cremate an animal. I know here, I get calls about cattle all the time. Someone will have a cow that'll pass away, and especially January. This January is bad. I got all kinds of calls this January.
Wow.
The polar vortex come down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how good your equipment was. It was hard to dig a hole. And so
Yeah,
they
I
were
would
asking
imagine so.
what, I had a lamb die. Okay, I can do that. I had a goat die. I can do that. I had a cow die. I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not
what do
gonna-
cows weigh?
Well, it depends. I mean, a full-grown cow, ton.
A ton? Really? Wow.
Yeah, if you got a big bull, he could easily weigh 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
But full.
And it's my understanding that the thicker the bones, the more it takes to the time, the length of time.
It's kind of a misconception that, and I don't want to go into great detail about it because some of our listeners may be a little skittish about talking about the cremation
Well,
process.
and you don't want to imagine that too with your own animal, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. But what you actually have left, the ash, is bone fragment. All soft tissue is destroyed by the fire. I mean, that's the cremation process.
Well,
So-
and if you think about it, what is it? We're made of about 90% water.
Exactly.
So
Actually,
that,
it's more than that. I
Yeah?
think it's closer to 97% water.
Wow.
okay. So I mean, that goes up as steam.
Right. Yeah. You're evaporated, and even the soft tissue, your skin and that's gone.
Mhm.
So what you have left is bone fragment, and that's what your ash is.
So let's just suppose we have a young entrepreneur out there that is listening to you going, that's what I think I'm going to enter. Can anyone start their own animal crematory?
Yeah, sure. Anyone can. I don't know why anyone would want to. But in all seriousness, there are a lot of regulations. You have to purchase, first of all, your crematory unit, which is heavily regulated by the EPA. We follow the same guidelines to record, charge, and particulate emissions as our local power plant was or would. So we keep records of all the pollutants that we keep because, like you said, everything is being evaporated, so it's all going up. And so you got to keep track of what your particulate emissions is. That's a requirement by law. And then the rest of it is just what any other business person would. Do you have a market? If you have a market, sure. Do you have the time availability? All of these things for business planning, it's important. Had I not asked that question, I wouldn't realize that there was relationships with veterinarians. And it turns out that that's quite a relationship.
So why don't you talk about the different levels of service that you offer? I mean,
Sure.
Not everybody wants an urn.
No, absolutely. And there's a lot of people that really like the cremation process, but they don't want the ashes back. So when we talk about a non-return of ashes, it's not because the people don't care about their animals. It's because not everybody wants this sitting on their mantle. Or not everybody has plans of taking their pet out to their favorite hunting ground and scattering their ashes. But, we offer all those different services. So for somebody who does not want their pet's ashes back, we offer a less expensive cremation. And a lot of times that's because we do what's called a multiple cremation. So if the vet calls me and there are some that do not want their ashes back, we will do a multiple cremation. It saves fuel, and we're doing the cremation together. Now, anytime it is a private cremation where someone wants their pet's ashes back, we do those individually.
Oh, okay.
That way, I make sure you get your pet
Right.
back, and Mike makes sure he gets his
Right.
pet back, and
That's right.
we don't want to
I don't have feathers and stuff in mine.
Yeah, you're not going to have feathers. I guarantee that. But not that we haven't done any animal or pet or
Birds.
birds. Because
Those flying
my
things.
son has chickens, and yes,
Yeah.
chickens die too. And
Right.
I've done an awful lot of goats too. So
I would imagine so.
so we do. We have a non-return of ashes. We also have just simply cremation charges where we return the ashes back in a cardboard box. And that's not because someone doesn't want one of these. It's because they either have something that is unique to them or special to them, or that they want to take their animals out and scatter them in a certain place. I know I've had a lot of beagle hunting dogs.
Oh.
And they don't buy urns. I mean, those beagles are usually going out to their favorite hunting ground. That's where they're going to be scattered.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
But,
then
Jason, I'd like for you to come back next week. And the
well, I think I
following-
will. But I think I'm going to sit on the other side of the table next week.
It's a pleasure to have you come on and talk about one of the many different businesses you've started or that you're involved with. It's very good every time you talk about the things that you do here at the University of Rio Grande. You're
Well-
very actively involved in many aspects.
One of the things we try to teach here to our students is try to find something that your community needs and then fill that niche. Not every business has to make millions of dollars. But if everybody will find something that they like to do, they enjoy doing it, and they can make a little money doing it, they can improve their life and the living conditions of themselves and those around them.
That's well put. Well put. Jason, in a week and a half, we're going to have a very special show that's going to be coming up, in which Susan Foltz, she's one of the individuals with the Small Business Development Program. She's going to be sharing some things like we have been discussing with the small businesses. Next week we have Dr. Govinda Kerala, who is going to be talking about some unique aspects in the economic arena, etc. So it sort of all fits in how your business promotes, how the small business development and how the educational process, how it all sort of fits in to make it a very wealthy community. So, Jason, I want to thank you very much for sharing some of these things. You have to come back, and we have to talk about your farm.
Well, Pat and Mike, it's just wonderful being on your show today.
Yeah, it's a new experience, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, I thought I was really going to be nervous, but you guys have made this so easy for me.
And you'll have to come back and tell us about your amusing stories. You know, we just ran out of time. I'm Patrick.
I'm Jason.
I'm Mike. Thanks for watching.